Welcome everyone, today we have a new build guide for Diablo 4. Now firstly, let's have a look at the replay. What I want to show you guys is my massive hit. So yes, here I was able to hit about 96,000, close to 100,000 with one-shotting against monsters. And what this build is about is that we have updated our Barbarian build to be a super fast, super speedy build. So notice how fast I'm moving around, and after killing this elite, I'll be moving even faster. So yeah, this build is now so fast that I'm having trouble clicking on items after killing the boss and killing the elites. And what I want to show you guys is the variation of this build and also how dynamic it can be. Because the planning of this build allows me to play two of the best Barbarian build I can be using at level 50 to level 70. And what this allows me to do is I'll be farming the elites monsters super fast in any of the content. And here you can see me doing one of the nightmare dungeons. And the variation of the build will come into the later parts of this build. So what I do is I'll show you guys a few of the demonstrations. So here is us versing one of the bosses. You can see that even though we are a massive AoE target build, we still do a lot of damage against single target. And if you guys do get a good two-handed sword or maybe a good two-handed axe, you can change this build for a bleeding build for the same purpose that deals a lot of damage against single target. And we'll be stunning a lot with both of the builds. So you can see over here, we kill the boss in a few seconds. Now what is special about this particular guide is I'll be showing you guys step-by-step process of how to dynamically adjust for any of the build whenever you get a massive upgrade for your two-handed weapon. So for the case that you get a massive upgrade for the two-handed weapon for bludgeoning, you go with a Helm of Engine build. And if you get a two-handed weapon for slashing, you go for the Rend build. And this allows you to get the most damage every level as you level from level 50 to level 70 and also beyond. So make sure you check the dynamic changes and also my tips in this video. Now, similar to all of our build videos, I'll be working with Mobalytics and also provide you guys with a cheat sheet of the summary of the spells and also the abilities and also the choice of legendaries. So make sure you guys check the links below, because our goal is to provide you guys with an easily accessible guide that is going to be user-friendly, and also whether you're playing on PC or maybe on consoles, this will be easily accessible on the mobile as well. And we'll be updating this build for you guys very soon. Now, if you guys are wondering what are my current gears, at the end of this video, I'll have a replay for you guys for the short run and I'll show you each of my gears. So make sure you stay tuned for the end of the video to see all my gears and all my stats. And I'll tell you guys what I'm planning to upgrade as well in the future. So coming over to my account over here. So let's firstly have a look at my skill trees. And yes, we have unlocked the Paragons, and I think most of you guys will be perking into the glyphs over here. So basically, I'll quickly mention about the glyph. For the glyph, I'm going with a bleeding increased damage, and this also provides me with increased critical strike against bleeding enemies once I have enough dexterity. It's not the biggest one because I don't have enough perks. Now what I want to do is, I want to provide you guys with the skill tree variation for two of my best builds, so the Bleeding and also Helm of Engine. You can see that currently I'm perked into the Helm of Engine, and I don't want to whisper my goal to reset the points, right? So in this particular part, I'll go through the variation of the Helm of Engine and also the Bleeding build for you guys for this build. And this build will be wonderful because it's very flexible, it's dynamic, you can adjust at any time. Now, because this build will be a level 50 adjustment build to our previous build, so what I recommend is, if you guys haven't seen our previous build, we do have a Barbarian build with a Helm of Engines, and also we do have a Bleeding build that uses this combination. And this particular guide will talk about those two builds into more details and how to adjust into those two builds. So definitely have a look at those two previous videos for more detailed explanation and also on crafting. So coming over to my skill tree for the updated Helm of Engines, and this is now much speedy and also deals a lot of damage. Similar to the previous build, we'll go with a bleeding damage coming from the launch strike, which is going to be essential for bonus damage and also lots of utility. So here we'll be upgrading the Helm of Engine to level 5 and also getting the increased damage from Fury. We still get the vulnerability, we still get the increased Fury, and over here we'll be going with at least 3 points into Rally Cry, which give us a lot of Fury gain. With the combination of legendaries, we'll be dealing a lot more damage. Now the upgrades for my shouts are pretty straightforward. We'll be going with increased resource and also Fury, and also increase more Fury, and finally we'll be getting Fortify over here. We still go with 6 points into the shouts, which allows us to have longer duration and also increase healing. We also will be perking into 3 points into Swiftness, which allows us to have a 12% bonus movement speed. So the movement speed will be the thing for both of the builds. And finally, over here, we'll still go with the 6 points into No Mercy and also Pitmaster. Only 1 point for the Hamstring. Now, if you guys are going for the bleeding build, of course you'll be going with 5 points into Rend, right? And also you'll be going for Rend getting more fury. Now, on the variation, if you want the additional damage for bleeding against vulnerable enemies with bleeding, with Rend, what you do is, you can take away the 3 points into movement speed and come over here and perk this over here for the bonus damage. And this is for the bleeding build. We'll be going with 1 point into thick skin, and also over here 3 points into counter offense, and we'll be having a lot of fortify to make use of this. Now for the Hammer of Ancient build, we'll be going with the Core of Ancient, and this also takes us into the upgrades. If you're going for the bleeding build, you can go with the Wrath of Berserker, which also gives us more damage and also more fury spent for more damage. Now over here, we'll always use a blunt weapon for our basic spells, which provide us with a high chance of stunning enemies. And also we'll be using two-handed weapons for the increased damage. Now for the Hammer of Ancient build, we're going over here to the Unbridled Reach, which allows us to do massive smacks. And if you guys are still playing the bleeding build, what we do is, we'll go with the Gushing Wound, and this allows you for the variation. Now if you guys haven't subscribed, it is a really good time to do so, because I'll be covering tons of Diablo 4 related topics and also videos and also guides. We'll be looking to the top meta builds, non-meta builds, leveling up, and also Paragon tricks. We're also looking to the latest events and also official updates, and also changes to different characters and also different builds in the game. So make sure you hit that subscribe button and also turn the notification on, because a lot of you who are watching the videos have not subscribed. You can see 80% of the viewers who are watching our videos have not subscribed, so make sure you subscribe to stay tuned for the latest update for Diablo 4. Now if we come over to the choices of items for both of the build, I do want to really stress out some of the important features of crafting for this variety of the build. So the first thing is, you want to be finding a boots that provides you with bonus movement speed, and also movement speed against killing elites. And what this allows me to do is, I'll be super fast based on these boots, and I have upgraded these boots to level 4, and this is the only item I'll be keeping on level 4. Now the best part about this boot is, you can be crafting this from one of the codex that is available in the dungeon. And this is quite important, because as you go in for the codex that is available, we'll be having a lot of unstoppable. And this will be amazing, as you see in the replays, and I have the replays ready for you guys. You can see how fast we move. It's so fast, I'm having trouble clicking items. Now the second biggest highlight of my 2 build guide over here is that what you're going to see is my gloves. So I'll show you the 2 gloves over here. If I'm going with the Helmet of Ancient, I'll be crafting the Helmet of Ancient Legendary onto these gloves. So these gloves, when I switch onto these gloves, I have the correct Legendary with a +2 skill rank. This is not upgraded, this is not a secret item. This is actually a very early level item. You can see it's level 42. And this allows me to be crafting for much cheaper. I will be losing some stats on the gloves, of course, but this is not a major factor. Now if I'm going with the Rend bleeding build, you can see over here, I'll be going with my bleeding with the Rend and with +2 of the Rend, and this is also not a secret item. So I can be crafting any of the offensive legendary that fits into my Rend build. Currently I'm doing the Rend stunning build, so here I'll be stunning enemies when enemies are bleeding. Now the next biggest highlight with the choices of legendaries and also items is gonna be that as you level up your character, you'll be finding a lot of amazing items that gives you a lot of stats. So notice over here, let's say if I'm using this particular two-handed sword, and all of a sudden I get a massively increase of a two-handed sword that takes me into a Rend bleeding build. And this is actually not bad, right? So notice if I reroll the basic skill damage, I can go into a lot of more damage, right? So at this moment, what I plan to do is, I can be switching into the new two-handed sword for a massive damage upgrade. And while doing so, I'll be changing the other two-handed weapon for the buff of the legendary. So I'll be putting this one for my two-handed buff for the increase of critical chance and also crowd control for my bleeding stunning build. And on the other chance, if I do find a massively good helmet, I'll be going with my Helmet of Ancient build. And I'll be setting this particular two-handed weapon to allow me to provide myself with additional damage from the legendary effect. So what we're doing is we're adjusting the builds dynamically, and this allows us to, whenever you pick up a two-handed bludgeoning weapon, you can be using the Helmet of Ancient build. And whenever you are picking up a two-handed slashing weapon for the bleeding build for the Rend, you can be going for a Rend build. And this is very dynamic and very flexible. Now what you're going to see over here, other than the weapons and also the boots, most of the items will be fixed. So you can see here when I stand still, I'll do 30% damage up to 30%. And here I will be increasing my basic attack speed. So all of those weapons will be universal for 2 of my build. And of course, you really do want to be gambling for those rings. So before you get your shot with reduction to cooldown, you really want to be spending all your opals gambling for rings. I was really lucky on this one. Now, because most of my other items are pretty straightforward, I'll be crafting this one with basic skills, provide damage reduction, and here we can craft the armor with the 25% armor, which is going to be really good. We also have increased fortify with additional fury gain, and also we talk about the gloves. And as for the amulet, I'm currently using the one that provides me with more damage with high resource, and this is a very basic amulet. I'll be upgrading this one very soon. Finally, as for one of my crafted rings, I'll be going with increased fury when I'm going for shout. So right away, guys, you can see this particular setup is dynamic enough for me to change into any of the 2 builds. So whenever I get a good 2-handed weapon for one of the Ring or the Helm of Vengeance, I'll be adjusting this one. And this allows me to alternate between the best build and also best items I can get. So this is very smart, right? So you get a good 2-handed weapon, you go for the secondary supporting 2-handed weapon for the legendary effect. And then you get another good one, you go for the other supporting weapon for the better effect. Now there is also one variation for the build for the Ring and also for the Helm of Vengeance. If you're going for the Helm of Vengeance build, you can go with high critical strike against crowd control enemies. If you're going for the Ring build for the socketing, you go with damage over time. Now finally, let's briefly talk about the skill rotations for both of the build. It is pretty straightforward. For the Ring bleeding build, you just want to pick up the items after enemies die from bleeding. For the Helm of Vengeance, it is much easier because you're just smacking and they die very fast. For both of the build, you'll be using 2 mobility skills. So the first mobility skill is gonna be your Rally Cry, which allows you to move faster with Unstoppable as well with your boots. The second mobility skill is that you can be getting your War Cry to give you another movement because of the Berserk with Unstoppable, and this can also be great. Now of course, you'll be using different shells and most of the shells will be lasting a long time. And the focus here to boost your movement speed is also to kill the elites. Whenever you kill the elite with the boost we have, I'll be getting a boost on movement speed. You can see sometimes I'm moving so fast, I'm having trouble to click things. And other than that, both of the build works wonderfully, and we'll just come over to the boss. Because we have a standing skill passive that provides 30% damage, you really do want to stand still. But sometimes if you get silenced, you have to move right. And the final focus is that we'll be doing more damage when enemies are stunned. So if you're timing your correct ultimate with Berserk, or if you're timing yourself with Helm of Vengeance, make sure you time this correctly to deal more damage, standing still and stunning enemies. Now I'm sure you guys are pretty excited about the future guides. Yes, I'm pretty excited too. So in the future guides, we'll be looking into a guide to get more experience, and I'll be focused on farming experience. You can see I'm only level 53 now, but stay tuned. I'll try to rush to level 60 and also 70. I'll be focused on the Nightmare Dungeons and also getting more experience in the future videos. Now before you go, and if you guys didn't know, we have a new YouTube channel. And if you guys haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe and check out the behind the scenes and also fun clips and also more stories about us. And then you get to know me a little more personally instead of just reading the news and also the games, right? So I want to share a little bit more with you guys. So make sure you check this channel out if you're interested about Matt and also Uni. She's really funny too, and she's really shy. So I want to give her a surprise and do a shout out for the new channel to get some subscribers. Thank you guys. I'll see you guys next time.